What is up, Streamland? It is 2025, and I want to thank you for joining us for the first show of the year. We're going to be hanging out with some of the guys and making some, I don't want to say predictions, but putting our thoughts out there on what may be coming down the pipe for comic book land in 2025. So I'm going to bring in some of the people that are going to be hanging out with us tonight. You may know them, you may not. In any case, hang out and get to know them a little bit better. First up for the night is this guy right here. What's up?
Everybody knows me by now.
Really? You think so?
Everybody, listen, if you don't know me, that's really the problem.
Well, then introduce yourself to the people that don't know you, brother.
Sure. Because there's so many new people watching tonight, right?
There's always people watching on the restream.
Oh, well, it's restreams and all that too. Yes. Guys, I'm the writer, publisher, art director, all things Big Dog Inc. Except for the art, we hire real professionals to do the art, but all the other things is on my shoulders.
Way to be. And also joining us for tonight is my brother here, Pete. Pete, what's up, bro?
Not much. Happy it's a new year, man. Ready to kick things off with some new stuff.
There you go. I see you twinkling behind us. Way to keep the spirit of the holidays running.
It's up year round. It's
I'm sorry.
It's too inconvenient to pack away.
Yeah, I remember when you used to put like lights on the house, and then we were like, "Well, let's take the lights down." I'm like, "Just don't turn them on."
That is a permanent installation.
Yeah, just don't turn them on.
Wow, guys, come on! I mean, it's a little bit of exercise. You know what I mean? It gets the juices flowing. You know, climbing up that house and coming down and doing stuff you didn't want to do in the first place.
I'm not really up for winning a Darwin Award, so they stay out.
Okay, all right, and another guest for the evening is my other brother here. What's up, Calderon? What's you doing, kid?
Nothing much.
You got like 3 layers on? Are you cold in that house? Like even your chair has a jacket. What is going on?
I just got in from work, sir.
Okay.
You know, unlike some people who just get to lounge around the lake all day. Exactly. You know, some of us have to climb down from the ivory tower, and you know
what's funny, right? This side of the screen is all lakeside people, right? We're Midwesterners, right? Almost Northerners. They breathe in the cold, right? -50, go through the lungs like nothing. Over here, it's 16 degrees today. I'm in a t-shirt. Calderon's put a sweater on the whole house.
Pretty much.
You know what? In his defense, that is the basement, and the door behind him leads to the passage outside. So he's catching it in his back, you know. But it is cold here in New York. We got a storm front coming here, guys. Right? We're looking at low teens to maybe single digits in the next coming days. But how has your holidays been, Calderon? All right?
It's been good.
Yeah.
Nice and quiet.
Yeah, you didn't hang any lights on the outside of the house? Have to take them down?
Do I look like a child? Like, if I had children, sure, but no.
This is coming from the guy who has, season tickets to Disney from New York. But hey, it's all right. We got to.
Wasn't Pete just answering this question? I'm not looking to get up on ladders.
Good. None of us are of the age that we can get on ladders anymore. Let's be honest.
Even the tech said gravity is a harsh mistress.
Yeah, bro. Come on. And we got a couple of people saying what's up tonight. Lori saying what's up, gents. What's doing, Lori? We got Brad. What's up? Evening, brother. We got David. Happy New Year to you too, my brother. All right. And to everybody who is watching over on Instagram, we want to thank you. If you got any comments, please shoot on over to YouTube Comic Book Streamland and join us in the chat. Say what's up. Let us know that you're here. All right. I brought you guys all together because there's some things going down this year, and I want to ask you about it. I want to get your takes on it. Right. We could call them predictions. We can call them well-informed thoughts. But, I want to see what you guys think of what's coming up this year. And the first question I got for you is one of my favorites. Will James Gunn's Superman rule the box office this summer?
No.
Right? It hits in July.
No.
No. And I'm already hearing.
It's going to get swamped so fast.
Swamped. What do you mean? What are you talking about?
Because it has 1 week to hit and do its thing, and then the next 3 weeks has major releases right behind it, including Fantastic Four, like 2 weeks later.
Okay.
So I'm not saying it can't succeed, but it will have 1 week to be the best. It might pull a second week, maybe, and then it's over. Then its top spot is gone, and it will become
FF coming out this year.
Yeah, this summer,
July.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And we got 2 things before that, but that's a later question. Right now, what do you think, Pete? You think Superman's going to hit, or it's going to flop?
I've been pretty cynical about a lot of these, but I am pretty hyped for this one.
Okay. Listen, it had that trailer had the internet divided recently. Some people loved it, some people hated it, some people only liked the dog, some people.
I was gonna say there was a lot of team crypto.
Yeah, that was it. That was what happened, you guys. You really need to notice the realities here. Nobody gave a shit about Hawk Girl or Guy Gardner or anything else that they saw. They were like, "Yo, crypto, I'm in," and I get that immediate connect. Like to me, that's a great sign for the movie that they've left Snyder behind. We've never seen crypto in a live action thing like this before. So that to me is a good sign. But I also have my biggest fear of this whole thing is that there's too much. This is a Superman movie, number one. It is the rebooting of an entire film franchise universe, which I understand we need things in it. But my concern is this a Superman movie or is this a DC universe movie? Like, how much of these other people are we getting, these other heroes and stuff? And so my concern is are we going to have some sort of a coherent, functional Superman story, or are we just going to get and here's Guy Gardner and Hawk Girl and Metamorpho and whoever else is in it. No, you're not going to see Lobo in this because the movie's done. Maybe a end credit scene, but he's supposed to show up in Supergirl. That's the whole.
Okay.
He's going to be a Supergirl thing, but that doesn't preclude something for an end credit scene.
But guys, don't you think that Gunn has been really good at handling a multi-tiered cast?
Irrelevant.
Really?
Irrelevant.
Why?
Because Guardians of the Galaxy was an interesting anomaly, the first movie, right? But it was also part of a gigantic existing machine at the time, right? So you've got all these, Iron Man and Captain America, and you've got these movies that were suddenly Guardians of the Galaxy, and people were yeah, this was okay. This was interesting. And again, Rocket, right? Yeah, there's a freaking talking raccoon. We're in. We live in this world. We live in the Pokemon world, guys, where if dogs and animals and things do things, it gets people in. But it was part of a giant machine. Flash forward to Suicide Squad, fucking dying on the fucking vine. People liked it, but it didn't do well from a box office standpoint. So Superman is obviously a better, level up from Suicide Squad, but his cachet didn't exactly carry over to Suicide Squad from a box office standpoint. Again, there's people that like it, but from a box office standpoint.
But a storytelling standpoint, yes, I think he hit.
I hated that movie. I mean, I hated that movie.
I liked it.
I really even fucking Harley Quinn had nothing to do again. Jesus Christ.
Tom, I hate to disagree with you, but
then don't.
Because I will. Because the thing is that I bet on creators. Okay. Yeah. He has a proven track record as a good creator. Whether you like that movie or not, it's still a solid film. You understand whether it did well or not in the theaters, it was still a solid film. A lot of people, I think more people enjoyed it than didn't. Okay. So, I don't see any reason why Superman is going to be any different. I guess most of us have seen, what was it, Peacemaker? right?
No.
Did
No.
you know? I enjoy Peacemaker. I don't know about you guys, whether you liked it or not. You know, that's fine. Tom, you're a humorless man. I'm sorry, but you know, what's the other one? Creature Commandos, right?
It's not doing it for me. It's not doing it for me.
Mediocre. I wanted to like that too. When that was the first thing on his whole list that I was like, "Yo, that's interesting." It's mediocre at this point. I'm not anti it, but I'm not in.
Okay, the Suicide Squad has joined my white noise catalog. I can have it on in the background, do other things, and I don't mind it being on. I enjoy it. It's like a warm blanket for me.
Okay, well that's fair. But I mean, like I said, I look at it like this. I don't see he has yet to make a movie that sucks.
Guardians 2 sucked.
Guardians 2 did not suck.
Guardians 2 sucked.
Guardians
I mean,
2
it was bad, man. Now it didn't suck like sci-fi movies suck. Like let's there's levels of suck.
Eternal sucked.
Eternals sucked. Yes. Yes. Granted, I would watch Guardians 2 before I watch Eternals ever again. Yes.
Yeah.
But they're at the bottom of this.
It's the bottom mid for me, right? Barely breaks the top 25 MCU flicks.
Again, when I say movies are bad, I always throw this out too. Just because I say movie is bad doesn't mean there aren't good elements to it. Like I can point out things in Guardians 2. I'm like, that was okay. This was okay. But
yeah.
As a whole, as an umbrella, that's a low tier. That's a pretty low tier.
My concern is kind of an obscure one, but it was like with Batman v Superman and some of the others. Like I love all the graphic novels they base these on, but at last count, I think it was at 3 or 4 of the Superman graphic novels that it looks like they're pulling stuff from. And man, any one of these is a great story on its own. You don't need to Frankenstein together 10 different plots and make it work. Just do one and be exceptional. And that is what usually winds up killing it for me as a criticism, is that you done too much, man. And
okay, a lot of movies.
That's my thing. Is too much.
Yeah.
Particularly in a starting point of this whole new stuff.
We should be at least fair enough to say that we have yet to see the film. I mean, he may actually make a good movie. We don't know.
No one here is saying that it's bad. We're just giving our concerns as to, like, I don't know.
Other people have mismanaged that process.
So all right. Before I move on to the next one, Superman, flop or success?
Success.
I think it'll be a mid success. I think you're. I don't know that you're going to be looking at much beyond what the Snyder movies made. Now, obviously, there's inflation that we have to sort of take into account, but I don't think you're going to see $1 billion Superman movie.
Ooh, okay. Calderon, flop or success?
I think it's gonna be a success.
Okay, I'm with you. All right. We're gonna come back to this at the end of the year, just so you know, guys. I love this. I'm looking forward to this. I'm looking forward to the Gunverse. I am. All right, our second question for the night, and I want to thank everybody who's chiming in on the comments. I appreciate you all hanging out with us tonight. All right. Will Kickstarter ever have over 500 launches in 1 month?
No.
If they let people do more than one at a time, yeah.
Ooh.
Sure.
They will crash the gates.
Yeah, that's true. But under current rules and regulations, no. We haven't even really truly come close to 400 yet.
Calderon,
we've gotten into the 380s before, but it usually peters out pretty quickly after that.
Where are you at? Yes or no?
I hope not.
It'll hit this year. Why not?
Most of the stuff on it is garbage. I mean, let's just be frank. I mean, look. Yeah, let's just hope not. I don't think that'll happen. But it is what it is.
Okay.
But that doesn't. Here's the thing: is the quantity of stuff on there isn't going to affect the people that are able to manage their own audiences, right? So even if there were 600 active campaigns in a given month, and I were to launch my campaign, I still have I won't say control, but I have an ability to activate the people that buy my stuff, right? And the fact that there's 599 other campaigns running isn't really going to affect me in that regard. It's not going to affect anybody in that regard. All that
Right.
means is that there's a whole lot of creators, like JD said, there's a whole lot of creators that are just like, let me throw stuff at the wall. And,
Right.
and you know what I mean?
mean-
It's not going to be like Grant Morrison's doing Kickstarters and, you know, all this kind of thing is happening. That's not what Kickstarter's doing. At least not at this point. That's not to say that they can't. I just saw something about Randy Queen and Darkchild coming back. I don't know if he's doing Kickstarter, but I assume he is. And he's doing that this year. So there are some sort of name brand creators that are filtering into the space. But even when they do, that's not like they're there all the time. They're not even like Polito, where he's there
Right.
like 8 times a year.
Yeah, but I don't see a future where there'll be like 500 campaigns. I just don't think, I mean, whether it be sustainable or not, who knows? But to get to your point, Tom, I agree. You're going to be fine. I'll probably be fine. But they're going to be new creators who are creating good books. They're going to get drowned out by the noise. And that's unfortunate. You know, and that's the part that I'm talking about. It's
Sure.
like there are too many people coming in that are not vetted and on any level. You understand? They just come in and say, I'm going to do a book. I'm going to write this, that, and the other thing. And, you know, they come in and they're like, oh, here's my comic. And then you look at it and you're like, okay, you know, good for you. You pat them on the back and say, nice to meet you. You know, nice job. Right? As they typically lose their shirts.
Well, we got one more person who wants to chime in on this topic. And let me introduce him to the stage. Mr. Fling, what's up, buddy?
Hey, what's up?
Happy New Year, brother.
What's
Is my
up?
audio on?
Your
You're
audio.
Okay, perfect. Hey,
We
thanks
could
for
all say, we're like,
it's happened a million times. Hey, thanks for inviting me. And I do want to say I have all the answers to these questions. So I'm so glad you asked me. And thanks for letting me in a little late. As you guys know, I'm getting ready, doing something else over here. But I'm glad to be here. And I also saw in the comments that I'm a huge Grant Morrison fan. So I was immediately inclined to jump in.
there you go.
Way to be, brother. Way to be. So the question that we are talking about right now is, do you think Kickstarter in 2025 will reach over or close to 500 comic book launches?
I do. I think Facebook's going to continue. Facebook. I think Kickstarter is going to continue to grow. And the two primary categories are going to be AI-driven comics. We're going to increase in popularity, both in writing and art. And the additional shortfall will be made up with sort of adult content risque books. I think they're going to reach record highs.
Okay. But I like what Tom says. You know, if we're managing our own, cultivating our own communities, that should not really affect us much. But hopefully those 500 launches, if we ever get to that point, bring in new people to the platform, which maybe we can all benefit from at the end of the year. All right.
Or there could be a new competitor to Kickstarter, which I think they are ripe for one. It seems like the other guys are doing pretty well also, right? Zoom, Crowdfunder, Indiegogo.
I don't know.
No, Indiegogo is dead in the
I don't
water.
know, dude.
And
Is it?
Yeah. Unless you are certain creators that live there, you know, again, sort of control your audience. Indiegogo is borderline dead. The only real one that seems to have any sort of real growth potential is Fund My Comic. I see people doing really well with that one. But going to some of these other places, like, I mean, Zoop is a real weird anomaly thing. I mean, there's so many different ways that Zoop works. I don't know that anyone's really figured out that place yet, but most of the others are not really succeeding. But I have seen people succeed quite well with Fund My Comic.
I
Indiegogo's
don't think
on the way out the door.
Until like another third-party platform tries to take advantage of one of the other ones or incorporate them. Are they really making any headway? Things like BackerKit or what is it, Kick Track or things like that. You know, unless they're trying to find ways to mine the miners, I don't see any of those platforms really gaining any traction.
Well, and that's the interesting thing about Fund My Comic is that it is actually growing, and there are people there that are doing you know, 10, 20,000 on those places. Now, granted, again, very specifically, they are using those platforms as their first platform. So it's not like they're on Kickstarter and then going there afterwards. So they're driving people to that first and foremost. And that's kind of part of why Kickstarter works best is because everybody uses that first, and then they take it other places as like, second chance campaigns. That's what Indiegogo always was,
Right.
is, hey, let's take it there for a second chance.
Yep.
Nobody cared, so nobody uses the platform at all anymore. But Fund My Comic is working, it both in second chance and in first chance, and that's the interesting one.
I will say the nice thing about Fund My Comic too is that it's not an all or nothing. You can have campaigns where it's like, I'll take what I get.
Sure. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think if Kickstarter let you pick, I think we'd hit 500 easy.
I think that's the hook of Fund My Comic, though, right? It's already hit on a different platform, so the product is going to be made regardless of whether it hits a target number on that platform or not, right? You're going to get it. It's going to come in because it's already been funded.
Mm-hmm.
It's a second time around the block platform.
Sure. Yeah. Of course, you can use any of these for second chances, but most of that stuff doesn't succeed particularly well.
IGG is one of those platforms where you have to bring an audience. If you're not bringing your own audience, it's going to be difficult to get traction over there.
Now, wait a second. Hold on. I'm going to jump in right there, JD.
Go ahead.
That's a tough one because you say bring your own audience, and I'm not trolling you. In what way is that true? Because if you're on Kickstarter, well, you got to bring your own audience. If you're on Fund My Comic, you don't think that's true?
Kickstarter, no. Kickstarter, for a long time, there are people, well, it's a little bit tougher now, but a few years ago, you could put up a campaign and if you put up a good campaign with a good graphic and you put up a good looking page, you will get people who just run across it as they go through the comic stuff, and they'll fund your book.
And your statement is that innate customer is not on Indiegogo.
Right.
No, IGG does not have the audience or the algorithm to support that.
Right. And even just the search functions of Indiegogo, trying to find things.
It is crappy.
It's a really bad just design build. Yeah. So yes, you have to bring your audience wherever you go, of course. Yeah. Certainly. But Kickstarter is that site where there are just people floating around and looking at things. And people can I did a 24-hour campaign on the first. I launched it at 8:00 at night. It ended 8:00 last night. Among those almost 90 backers, even in that 24-hour period, I got 5 brand new backers to me, just out of the blue. Here's the thing. So always you have to bring your audience, but Kickstarter, and this is why it works better than the other places right now, is that is just an audience that is there for that stuff, and they'll tinker around with it. And it has a better search algorithm. Everything about the functionality of the site is better.
I do agree. I agree with what Tom said. Those things are all true. The reason I hesitate right there, it's tough for me to imagine that any platform doesn't have customers already there. And remember, I'm not saying this out of fact because I've used Indiegogo so many times, but my guess is that there's a certain amount of innate customers to any platform.
There are, sure, but I think the point is that the ones that are on Indiegogo are there primarily for specific creators already. They're there for EVS. They're there for whoever those normal guys are. They sit there and they primarily, again, look for those kinds of guys. Companies like Dynamite use Indiegogo quite a bit, as a regular thing. But like here's an interesting example, right? When I did the Indiegogo with them, the book that I wrote for them, the Bad Kitty book, they wanted to put it on Indiegogo. And I said, that's not where you put these books. That's not where these Bad Girl books goes. The audience isn't there. And they said, well, we have an audience there. And I said, yeah, but it really needs to go on Kickstarter and then put it on Indiegogo later. And they were like, well, we're going to do it first here. I said, okay, do it. It's your thing. Do what you want to do. Yeah. So we put it on Indiegogo. It made $11,000 in 2 months. 2 months, not 2 weeks, 2 months. It did $11,000. I said, let me run it on Kickstarter for 2 weeks and do a backup campaign. We did $11,000 in 2 weeks on Kickstarter as a second chance campaign. So there's just more direct activity. There's also a lot of people that
hold on a second. Now you like I say, I like to really learn it because I don't know that much about it. But I've agreed with everything you said up to this point, except for what was the finishing number on Kickstarter? Because I think you just proved
11,000.
Well,
in 2 weeks.
That proves they're equal, though. The time
No. 11,000 in 2 weeks versus 11,000 in 2 months.
But what did the total end up being? Like, did it end up being
11 on each? 11 on each.
So it was 11 on each.
Yeah.
And again, this isn't. Yeah, I'm feisty. You know, when I'm on other people's show, I like to drop the hot takes. And, you know, I think that Tom's right about all the things he said. But my takeaway there was I put my book on there. It did 11 grand on Kickstarter. I put it on Indiegogo. It did 11 grand.
11 grand in 60 days.
Well, I understand once
Okay,
more.
that's a big difference, though, because if I had continued, the point is if I had continued to run the Bad Kitty for like a full month, we would have done more than 11,000.
Yeah, it would have been 40K.
Yeah.
You know, we might have done 15, 16, 18,000 if I had run it for a full month. That's the whole point.
Pete,
That's
you
the
went
thing.
crazy with the 40K.
And then the other thing is that with Indiegogo,
60 days to 60 days, man.
Yeah, but no, Kickstarter, you got that big.
Yeah, Kickstarter, you get a lull.
Yeah.
That's not a 1-for-1 as far as that goes. But the other thing with Indiegogo is you get charged the instant that you back a campaign.
Yeah.
There are people that like that. There are people that do not like that. I know people that have done that. They've had credit card problems through Indiegogo. So I'm just taking you through steps of what I was told from customers and my fan base. Well, like when we went to Indiegogo or we talked about it, they were like, I don't like that platform because X, Y, and Z. A lot of people went and did it just because it was there, and we didn't know if we were going to do a Kickstarter campaign. So they all, again, bring your audience, right? So we brought an audience. It went over to Indiegogo. We did that much in 2 months, and then I was like, look, we can do better over here. And I feel like we showed that we could do better over there.
Well, and this is why it might fail for me, Tom, because the truth is I don't the first thing, like I say, I agree with every element of what you said, but where I take objection on this is I'm not sure that bring your audience is the answer to a new platform. My thought is, and this is where I could be wrong, I admit it, viewers, because I haven't done Indiegogo, but why would you, in what way would you bring your own followers? Because they would have already bought your book. What you'd want to do is discover new followers. Or
in a second chance opportunity, yes. Yeah, in a second chance opportunity, you're 100% right. Yeah, we're talking about just like if you decide, like if I were to be like, I'm not doing Kickstarter anymore, I'm going to fund my comic, I got to bring all of those people with me. I can't rely on the existing Fund My Comic people, right? But if you're doing a second chance, the whole point is to get it in front of different eyeballs. Yes,
that is what
you're right.
That is my main thing.
100% you're right.
Larry, if you got time, put your comment in why you say Indy no, because I do want to know why he wouldn't like it. My sense is he would do well.
He and I are on. We talk about this all the time. He'll have the same answers that I just gave you.
Yeah. But, and by the way, like I say, I'm learning it. This isn't me saying, hey, I definitely I'm not really sold on it, but I do.
Well, the thing is that there's not really a reason to not try it, right?
Right.
But it's really all just ROI. How much time and effort are you putting into building this campaign versus, what are you going to get on the back end? But you won't know until you actually do it. You could be one of the guys that actually pulls, some kind of extra money out of it. You could be the anomaly. You could be the exception to the rule. But it used to be that maybe you could do, 15K on a Kickstarter and then do another 1,000 on Indiegogo. But even that really doesn't happen anymore. That's almost non-existent. If you were to do a second chance on Fund My Comic, I'd be curious to see what would happen, because I think that there is a more active user base there. Again, to put yourself in front of new eyeballs. I think that Fund My Comic is the best second chance alternative and the best alternative if you decided not to use Kickstarter.
You hear good things about the people too.
Yeah. When it comes to Kickstarter, how many times do you look at your dashboard and you see discovery, right? Pop up there, right? People finding you organically for the first time. So that's awesome. And I love this. That was a great question for Kickstarter.
Let me just throw something in real quick. As far as Zoop is concerned, I think Zoop is good for creators. Like I saw Jim Starlin put a book up there, and I think creators like that enjoy that type of platform because they'll handle it soup to nuts. So they're going to handle the platform. They're going to handle your printing. They're going to handle the fulfillment. So if you're, an older professional creator who's maybe not accustomed to dealing with printers and dealing with that sort of thing, Zoop might be a better option for those guys.
Agreed. Yeah.
Right. So, so there you go. I think that's where Zoop holds an interesting portion of the ecosphere in that.
Well, I appreciate you guys giving such thoughtful answers and with such experience. So I guess I would say this: I'm inches away from launching this Indiegogo. I didn't want to launch it, over Christmas. I think I was talking to Tom about this, but after talking to many people, I'm actually thinking of moving the operation over to Fund My Comic, and only based on the things kind of that people have said. Like First of all, you guys remember I've been wrong about 100 times about stuff, so don't hear that I know what I'm doing. But the truth is, when people say things like, "Well, you got to bring your audience," I already know that doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any. Well, you got to, if no matter what business you're in, you're selling loaves of bread. Well, you got to invite all the people that already have bread. Oh, you don't. You got to find new people that are a little hungry, right? And what the answer is, I don't know. I'm sounding intelligent by saying this, but I don't know the answer. And I do know that people say things like Lori mentioned the search engine is terrible. Like, how do you even market your Indiegogo? The link is like I guess you have to make a custom link. Yes.
I don't know.
Nobody
What
knows.
is custom link for what?
Can you make a custom link on Indiegogo?
See, that's what I'm not sure. Have you
I don't know
seen?
I know they give you a link, but I don't know if you can make a custom link. I'm pretty sure you can. I know you can do the tiny URL thing.
Yeah, usually you can shrink them into those tiny URLs if you need to.
But where I was going with it is like Tom mentioned their search bar, and even Laurie said this. You go into their search bar and you can type the exact name of the project, and it won't find it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And also you also have to remember there are people who don't like using Kickstarter.
Right.
And those are the people that you got to find that are going to be interested in your book to go to someplace like Indiegogo to pick it up. You just got to get to those folks.
Hey,
I
Tom,
love
Yeah,
everybody.
and again, there's no reason not to do them. I mean, do Indiegogo and do Fund My Comic. I mean, do everything if you want to. I mean,
try it.
again, different eyes on different platforms. Just do it all.
Make
It's
your
for
money
me.
the
It's
way you
always
do.
just the ROI. It's how much effort did it take? How much did we get back? But you don't know the answer of what you'll get back until you do it. And once you do it, then you can kind of really make an educated decision. Like we did Kickstarter. This happened. We did Second Chance. We did Second Chance. This happened. Let's take our data and decide what happens next time. Until you do it, you don't really know.
Yeah, agreed.
Tom,
And I'm in no way disparaging Kickstarter. That's what I use. You know what I mean? And mine have always funded. But the truth is,
I don't
need
know,
to find
Tim, that's
more.
the way it's sounding.
I'm
I
ripping
think
on
that's the way
Kickstarter.
it's sounding. It sounds like you're disparaging Kickstarter. No, I'm joking.
No, yeah. Well, in my case, it isn't. How do I want to say this? It's the simple fact is I need more customers, and you troll
We
through
all
the
do, brother.
Kickstarter water, and again, it's one man's opinion.
Yeah.
But increasingly the Kickstarter water is sort of crowded with these projects, which I don't think are representative of my brand, for one thing. And the second thing, I can look at it and be like, "Ooh, this customer's not my customer. Maybe I'm," I've said before, it's like being at a convention, and the nice person next to you is selling custom-made Pokemon soap. Pokemon soap's great, right? I love Pokemon. I love soap, but it might not necessarily the best. That's probably not the best spot at the con for you, right?
Yeah.
Right. Pete, you wanted to say something. I'm sorry, buddy. Go ahead. What's up?
yeah, I was just curious for Tom, in that 2-week campaign, did Dynamite give you the metrics from Indiegogo? Because I'm curious, having run and helped others on both platforms, it's sometimes interesting to see the audiences you get the super fans who back both, but did you see in doing Kickstarter where you tend to versus Dynamite's Indiegogo, did the data show that they were completely different audiences, or did yours actually back both?
That's a great question.
I
That's what I
had-
want to know.
Yeah, I had a lot of my guys, because at the time, again, I didn't know if we were going to do a Kickstarter later. So I could only tell my guys, my fans, like, guys, I don't know what they're doing. This is what's happening right now. So if you want the book, you got to come get it. And so a lot of my fans just came in and got it. And I don't know how much of it was me versus them versus, the casuals. But then when we did the Second Chance campaign, we did nothing new. We offered no new items. We did get some guys who had bought a couple of things on Indiegogo. They bought a couple of more things on the Kickstarter. And then we also scooped up a lot of people that just didn't go to Indiegogo. They were like, "Oh, I'm so glad you're here because I didn't want to go do it over there." So they legitimately said, "No, I'm not going Indiegogo." And then they were excited when we went to Kickstarter. So, yeah. And it was enough to match in 2 weeks what we did in 2 months for them. So it's interesting. It was interesting.
I do see with the Niobe comics, and I think even Lori kind of said some too. It's nice having the add-ons to let people customize their stuff.
Of course.
I do find that the upsell stuff really helps too, and
100%.
none of the other
100%.
guys really offer that, where it's like,
Oh, yeah.
oh yeah,
Well-
I'm gonna back this, but I also want a freaking custom sketch or a pin.
But also
or,
remember that back in the day, Kickstarter didn't have add-ons either. We
Sure.
had to do a workaround for that. We had to tell people, if you want two things, just add extra money, and then tell me what you bought later on, and we'll make it work. So,
and I think Indiegogo does have add-ons now. I put my add-ons in. I didn't
do
run
they?
it.
They
I
do
didn't
have
run it yet
add-ons.
to see if they work, but they have an add-on section. And
Yep.
what I did is, it's the graphic novel is the campaign, but your add-ons are the floppies, because
Yep.
sometimes people might want a floppy. I hope.
yeah, Indiegogo definitely does. I don't think they call it add-ons, but it's like perks or some
Yeah,
other.
it's been there for a
term
while
or
though,
something.
because I remember I did run
It was
one.
there from the beginning.
Yeah.
It was there from the beginning.
Was
They're
it?
the ones that started it, and then everybody was complaining on Kickstarter. Why aren't you like Indiegogo? Why don't you have this? The other thing that Indiegogo has that I would like to see go to Kickstarter is where you can move your levels. You can move the levels, like you know how when you have the set graphic, if you don't put it in a certain like
You could pin it in a certain section because you want
right,
to.
you
yeah.
can move it around.
Oh, I didn't know you could do that.
What do you mean by that, JD? I didn't quite follow.
So okay, so let's say like my current campaign, I have cover A, cover B, cover C, cover D. If I do cover A, B, C, right, and then I do cover E because I'm waiting on cover, or I put in cover E instead of cover D, and then I put in cover D, I can't move those. You know what I mean? I can't switch them.
Yeah.
biggest
So-
pet peeve ever.
Right.
Well,
So,
Kickstarter
yeah.
goes by dollar amount, right? Dollar.
Well, no,
yeah.
no, you have the dollar amount, but also by the order you put it in. So if you have, let's say, 10 levels that are $25 and is A through whatever, right? You can't move them around.
Right, it's alphabetized. Right, it's the
Yeah.
next one in feeds into the bottom of that.
Exactly. But if you wanted to move
I
them
want to pin
around,
my $100 one right there at the top. You can't do that.
exactly.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Question number 3 for the night, guys. We're rocking and rolling here. All right, let's go. Question number 3: Will ICV2 ever launch their ordering distribution platform? I know it's something that we've been speaking about for quite a while now. It's something that was announced.
I mean,
last February.
if they are even remotely close, they need to be doing it like right now, because distribution is chaos right now
Yeah, it's a mess.
with Diamond and with Lunar. I mean, it's chaos, absolute chaos. So the door is wide open for them to make this attempt if they're even close to having whatever it is that they need to have done. But I would say. I would say that probably by the end of the year, you'll probably hear them talk about, "Hey, we're getting close again." That would be my thought process. But yeah, distribution is the worst right now. I can't even comprehend how bad it is for retailers. So somebody hopefully can come and help. But
ICV2, Larry, is Milton Greep. He owned Capital City Distribution years ago. He took that money. He ended up opening ICV2. That website records, talks about stuff that goes on in the business, mostly about gaming and wider sales within the industry at large. And
yeah, they have the guys that develop the Diamond Top 300 and all that
yeah.
kind of stuff.
Right. So last year he had talked about opening up a platform through ICV2, the website, where independent comic books could post and sell through them to other shops. Is it going to hit? I don't know. We were
When
hoping
we were in, are we going around in a circle?
let's go. Good.
When we went to the Comics Pro event in 2024, which is primarily for retailers and publishers, right? But it's a great thing to go to if you're a creator, because you can talk right to the publishers, like you can sit down and go over this stuff. And first of all, everybody's very fired up about new retail ordering systems, and they need to be. It's like Tom said, it's right now it's potentially the worst that it's ever been. Like last week, wasn't there okay, so the one warehouse closed, right? So last week the shipment didn't go at all, is my understanding.
They're still being delayed.
Yeah.
As of today, shops still hadn't gotten their books by 12 o'clock. Depending on where they stand in the UPS distribution system route, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But a lot of shops had not gotten it, and we understand the delay from Wednesday because of the holiday, but now Thursday and Friday they still haven't gotten it. It's hurting a lot of local comic shops.
But my prediction is, especially after talking to these guys at Comics Pro, is that first of all, Diamond's going to be fine because you notice they're leaning hard into the toys, which is it's the most profitable segment. They're doing the Funko Pops and Diamond Select. They're like really high end PVC.
Right.
They're not quite statues. They're really high end action figures. And like I say, these are $50, $60 action figures. So you got a nice price point. It's certainly much better than they're probably doing better with the toys than they were with the books.
Yeah, but
so what we
margin
need
isn't high on toys.
What's that?
Margin isn't high on toys either.
Well, it's a good shot higher than a comic book.
Well, they're looking at 25%, maybe. That's a good spot, right? Most businesses can't survive with under a 20% margin. So, with comic books, you're looking at anywhere between 20 to 40%, right? For the shops. So, is it the higher price point that's more attractive than the lower price point on a comic book? Probably. And
well, yeah, Diamond's always asked for higher price points on stuff. Always.
And it's probably a faster sell through with the toys.
Yeah. And you're ordering by case, whereas, comic books you're ordering by unit.
Right.
Well, and where I was going with that, what needs to happen, what is most likely to happen, you're going to see one of the distributors pair up with another. There's going to be a new Diamond. There has to be.
I don't know. Maybe because Lunar is overwhelmed.
Yeah, it's too much.
They don't have the personnel to process orders, and they don't have the space. They're building a brand new facility, right? Yeah. This is something that I keep forgetting what her name is, but the lady who runs Lunar, in November they were talking about I forgot. I think on the Off Panel podcast, she was talking about they had just broke ground on a new warehouse facility. Mm-hmm. All right, so she's building a second facility, whereas Diamond is starting to lose places.
Yeah, well, one place is coming from a point of growing, and the other place is, they're being whittled down. They lost 80% of their business in the last 2 years,
something like that.
Right.
So of course they're going to shrink. Right. But the problem is, all right, there's a lot of different ways to look at this, right? We could look at it as what we're looking at now, or the history of it, right? Back in the day, Image had a decision, and I just want to say this, but Image had a decision to make. Yes. Image could have either have gone with Capital City, right, or Diamond. Now they did the correct thing for their business, and they went with Diamond because that was going to give them the largest ROI. But they didn't make the right decision for the business, which was going with Capital City, which is what would have kept a second distributor around, right? And maybe we wouldn't be in such a tough spot that we're in now, because we lost a lot of stores because of Diamond's mismanagement for many, many years. Because they didn't care about people like us. They don't care about independence. It says if you're in the back half of the book, well, good luck, buddy. Right? Mm-hmm. You understand? How many creators have said that? Tom, did you ever feel Diamond cared about you?
And that's why there won't be another distributor, because Marvel and DC and the bigger ones, Image and some of the big guys, they're now exclusive with these other publishers. Right. So we have the same problem as when they were exclusive with Diamond. You can't come in and just be like, here's a better option, everybody. Well, we're stuck with these companies. We're over here. So there won't be anybody coming in to do anything significant. Like the ICV guys, they're going to do what their thing is. But it's just going to be a small online thing. I like its idea.
She spelled whorehouse wrong.
It's not, it's not, it's not going to be large scale, and there's not going to be another large scale thing. And if Lunar is actually at a point where they're like, hey, look, we're going to grow and we're going to build buildings, then, you're looking down the line, that's going to be the place to be. Diamond will eventually just sort of dilute into just doing toys and, higher end things, and all the comics will shift to Lunar eventually, or Diamond will just have nothing but, the smallest indie guys. And I don't know that that's even a sustainable business if you're just running off of, the small indie guys.
And the thing is what they lost: Dark Horse, they lost Boom, they've lost, who's left? Dynamite, they lost IDW.
Yeah, Dynamite. There's
Zenescope.
Zenescope. All of the and then again, it's all the little guys. It's the Vaults and the Scouts and the Aftershocks, which a lot of those guys are going out of business anyway, just on their own.
The AWA is still in business or no?
Just barely.
I don't know.
Just barely. Aftershock is gone. Right?
In previews, it's just all backstock. I just was perusing it earlier. It's all backstock.
Right.
And once again, optimism indicates that the situation was not understood.
So at the end of all of this, we didn't even talk about ICV2. I guess they're not going to be launching anytime soon, right?
I wouldn't think so. I mean, the only thing that they have is that, it would be a focal point for indies to kind of do a thing. But whether or not that opens doors to retailers to do anything for them, the retailers still have to decide to order indie books, regardless of where it comes from. Retailers still have to say, I want Big Dog Ink books on my shelf. Why would they do that when their customers 9 times out of 10 are coming in and going, where's Batman? And that's the struggle that we have. And that's why indies are, their best bet right now. I'm not saying like leave stores, certainly not, but their best bet is to generate direct customer sales from that publisher to their audience in whatever capacity, crowdfunding or direct sales or whatever it is. That's your best bet, and use the idea that you're in stores, assuming that you're in stores, use that as sort of a marketing boost for yourself to be in front of those eyeballs and hopefully drag them back to,
Well, okay. It's funny. You're bringing this up. Last time I ran the show, we were talking about something that had just happened with Dollar Tree starting to sell books.
Yeah.
Right.
DC, right?
25 DC books.
DC.
So it's over a month now. I have not seen issue 2s in the stores. I have not seen many places that had that display either. That was supposed to be a marketing boost. Do you guys?
Well, it's a marketing attempt. We don't know what the boost is until it happens. And we didn't know if they were going to do like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We didn't know if they were just going to put out a new batch of number 1s every time. I don't think they told anybody what they were doing other than, hey, look, here's some stuff, which is fine. I have no problem with them doing it.
And at least they tried something. It's like we all know somebody has to try something.
Oh,
and I think we can agree we don't know what's going to work.
Yeah. But the problem is that selling stuff in Dollar Tree, if there's nothing in those books that then says, by the way, go to your local comic book shop and get more Batman, then it's just a throwaway item. It's just a here's a thing. Now for them it's fine because they made some money. Obviously that they're just like, hey, we made some money, cool. But if there's no next step to, hey, you have this, what do I do now? You either have to get number 2 from them if they put out number 2, or they got to tell them, hey, there's comic book stores. Go get a comic book.
It wasn't overstock, though. Remember, it was brand new printings that went into these shops.
Sure. Yeah. But they're printing these things by ridiculous quantities. So, if it costs them, a nickel a piece and they're getting 25 cents a piece, who cares?
Right. Yeah.
Also, the thing is the only really good thing that I can see coming from this is that I hope the brain trust over at DC is trying to cultivate the future of comics, right? Is that this is not for people who are here now, because the people who are here now, we're already bought in. But hopefully there's some 10-year-olds that they might be able to bring into the room. You understand? It's like 12-year-olds that 10, 15 years from now, they'll still be some comic shops, and they'll still, have a fond eye for DC comics and for superheroes and that sort of thing. Hopefully come and buy those books.
Yeah. I want to thank everybody who is joining us in the comments. I love the discourse over here. Really cool. Everybody who is checking us out over on Instagram, please jump on over to Comic Book Streamland on YouTube and join the chat. All right. I can't really put your posts up here, so I want to thank you all who are commenting on Instagram, but please join us over here. Hang out with us. What you been calling? All right. So we know where we're going with that. Question number 4. We're rocking and rolling tonight. Here we go.
Question number 4. You have questions. That's
I planned it. Bro. I prepped. All right, here we go. All right, after the Deadpool success, will the MCU continue to trend upwards?
No.
With 3 movies on the horizon.
Oh, I can't wait for this one.
With 3 movies on the horizon, starting off with Captain America: Brave New World, Thunderbolts, and Fantastic Four. Will they continue to trend upwards? You already said something. Let me go with Pete. Pete, what's up? What do you think, brother?
I think that ship has sailed.
Ooh.
Hot take.
Yeah.
Woo.
Not really. That's not that hot of a hot take.
Yeah, it's.
All right.
I don't know that. Again, I don't think that it's like it. I don't think we're in a period where these movies are going to like truly flop. Like, but we're the $1 billion moment. I think that part is mostly gone. It's a lot of these movies are probably still going to like even the last Doctor Strange made like 800 million or something.
Yeah, but
So you're going to have some of these
flopped.
What?
The Marvels flop.
The Marvel flop. No, I'm not saying that a singular movie can't flop, but as a whole, as an umbrella, I think you're going to see some of these be fine in the 700 realm, and then there will be some flops. I expect some of these to kind of tank out based on their budgets that they're putting into these.
Yeah, but it's the death of 1,000 cuts, though. I mean, you have 3, and if 2 flop, that's a lot of hemorrhaging to deal with, and I think that's kind of where it's been trending.
Yeah,
that instead of going all in on just a masterful movie and banking on just one blockbuster, doing several that are just going to hit mid maybe is not gonna save it.
Well, yeah, I mean, even Disney, they had that whole thing a few years ago where they were like, look, we're going to do like maybe 3 movies a year and maybe like 2 TV shows a year. And like, that's right, what we're doing.
They got Daredevil coming out. David said this in the chat also, right? But I wasn't really counting on that bringing in the dollars that hopefully these 3 movies would, right? Will they get back to what they used to be? Or are we looking at a
I mean, we have to be honest. We have to look at them at a 1 by 1. I mean, the next Captain America, I mean, I'm going to go see it, but I'm going to go see it one time, right? It's not like when I saw the Avengers and I maybe saw it 3 times in the theater.
Okay.
What's the other? Thunderbolts. It looks like fun. Again, another one I'll go see one time, but I'm not going to go to the theater and probably catch it 2 or 3 times. The Fantastic Four, that's a huge coin flip. Because that one's either going to be really, really, really good or it's going to suck. Like I don't think it's going to go either way. I don't think it's going to be mid. I think it's either going to be excellent or it's going to be terrible. So
okay. Yeah. You know what? They got the Things costume right for once, right? They got the big underbite and the eyebrow. I know it sounds stupid to a lot of people, but in almost every movie prior, that was just a big fail, and that's as iconic as Optimus.
They did that in the Corman movie.
Michael Chiklis was rough. Yeah, I'm excited for Thing in this one just by how he looks, but that's it at this point.
But I don't know how the guy acts.
Hold on, is anybody excited?
Well, that's not going to be voice acting. I mean, it's going to be a CGI thing. You know what I mean? It's not going to be a rubber guy.
No, but how's he going to emote? Right?
Yeah, sure.
His voice needs to carry a lot out there.
Yes.
Right. And I'm not familiar with him except for that first season of The Punisher. I don't know him other than that.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Right. But Calderon, I'm sorry, I cut you off.
But is anyone excited for the Lady Silver Surfer?
No, in fact, that's getting torn apart by the internet for the most part.
Yeah, that got hard.
I love it. Because it's got people talking about it, right? They're going the whole Madonna concept. Just talk about it, whether you love it or hate it. That's free marketing, right? And we don't know if she's going to be in there for the first 30 seconds, the first 5 minutes, or if she dies off and ushers in a brand new Norrin Rad. We don't know that.
That's true.
But fuck it, feed the beast.
It'll do well because that one is guaranteed to get people to hate watch it.
Yes. Yes.
But here's the thing, though. People will go see it once. Because that's the problem with a lot of the Marvel movies. The reason they make so much money is because guys like myself, I'm pretty sure some of you guys will go 2-3 times, right? I'll go with one set of friends and then another set of friends will be like, you want to go? Yeah, sure, why not? And then go with another set of friends. Yeah, and then
I haven't seen any of these Marvel movies in the theater more than once.
Okay, well,
I have. I'm with you, JD. I'll just take a quick swing at this question. The Marvel universe is already done as we know it. The last good one was was Endgame Part 2, and almost exclusively they sucked after that. And I'll just give a quick couple examples. There was the Eternals What are you guys doing over there? Like, I love comics, and I can't even finish that movie. And then you got Black Widow. Okay.
See,
And now you got some of the TV projects, and and I'm not even going to start blasting them, but there's an easy way to describe them. They're bad. And what happened was guys like us who love comics, we started to sort of give up on them. I won't speak for you guys, but I definitely did.
You're reading right off of my notes, Tim.
Really? I wouldn't. I certainly wouldn't go see any of these movies in the theaters, and I even avoid them when they come on pay-per-view because they're just not good. And here's what needs to be done. Are you ready? You need to start over again completely with good stories and start over again with the A-tier characters. That we've already gone through the A, B, and C level characters. We're on the D's, and there some of the characters I don't even know. Like, can any of us in this room name an Eternal?
Yeah, Icarus.
Okay, I know Icarus. You know more than one? Hold
Ajax,
stop. So Jay knows. Does anybody else know?
I couldn't tell you an Eternal.
Oh, you're gonna keep it out there, bro.
I'd have to sit here and think for a while.
Jay took mine, and that's about it.
Yeah.
Here's my thing. See, with Black Widow, I got to take exception with that. I like the Black Widow movie. I think it came out the wrong time. If they put Black Widow in between the two Avengers movies, where the Captain Marvel movie was, she would have succeeded. The fact that everybody knew she was dead 5 years prior, it was like, why am I going to want to see this movie? Right? They killed the marketing from the get-go on that one. It's a really entertaining movie, dude. It's a movie about found family. Can they tell a good story still? Yes. Can they market it to the point where they make it $1 billion movie? I don't think they can anymore.
It's kind of like the Rogue One approach, where everybody going to see is like, great movie, but we kind of already knew how this movie ended.
Right.
No one's getting out alive. So,
right. All right. Well, Rob, here, if it's a what if reality that will be destroyed by the end of the movie, then all of Doctor Doom came over to the MCU proper. The whole of the end is rumored by the Mr. Fantastic has to beg Doctor Doom to save his family and bring them over with him. Okay. All right. Rob also brought up The Forgotten One. Okay. And Whitefire. The movie had a formula that was all cookie cuttered, and we did not want cookies anywhere. Ooh, I like cookies. Yeah, I got a belly. I like cookies, bro. You know what I mean?
I'll go on record too as saying I don't think Fantastic Four is it. Let me quick tell the viewers in the comments before they attack me mercilessly. I'm a huge Fantastic Four fan. I'm a collector. I'm the guy. But friendly reminder, they have done the Fantastic Four a couple times.
Yeah.
3 times.
Yeah, but in fairness,
and they even recently did it one more time in the Doctor Strange. And we saw how that turned out.
But they did Captain America in the past. They did X-Men in the past. All these things were in the past. So when all this stuff suddenly became Marvel style, Kevin Feige style, everything elevated. So I don't necessarily agree with you. I think like Jay just said, I think it's either going to be an absolute pancake or it could be sort of the next rebirth of what could come if they really are putting time into this. If they have a story that makes sense for what this is, it's all pretty weird to me because it's not 616 Marvel. It's like a weird alternate parallel thing to start with. So that kind of makes me kind of weird about it. But
sometimes that's okay.
That's what I'm saying. It could be. So this is either going, I think Jay is right. It's either going to pancake or it's going to be a good starting launching point for, whatever these other things are. And then of course we know that the Avengers movies are coming, the Doom thing with Robert Downey Jr., which I still can't understand what the hell's going on there.
Iron Man reboot.
I mean, something's going on, right? which we're not privy to, so we're all just guessing on all this. But the Fantastic Four stuff is going to roll into the Avengers stuff. So there's going to be a while where we have sort of this Deadpool Wolverine construct where all of these crossovers are still going to be happening. We're not just getting a slate of new movies like when we had Black Widow and Eternals and Shang-Chi and Moon Knight TV shows. We're going to get sort of that effect for a little while. How much of that effect, I don't know. How much it will last, I don't know. But there's really not a lot. If you look at their slate of films, there's not a lot that isn't connecting directly back to the things that worked for billion-dollar films. Right. And they may have realized that. They may have just said, look, we gotta go. This is what Marvel Comics has become. It's become every year there's just this gigantic event thing. Let's slam an event together. So it's almost like the movies have become, well, let's do Inferno this year. Let's do Atlantis and Cax this year. Let's do Executioner's Story this year. And then don't forget, guys, at some point the X-Men are going to make their appearance.
Right.
Right.
They haven't gotten to that point yet.
Another
right?
stepping stone for this stuff to move forward.
And to go back, Tim, earlier you said, they're getting to the A, B, C, D characters. We see it differently, but mainstream at large, when they saw Iron Man come out as their lead film, to the mainstream at large, that was a C character.
Yeah.
Right? He was not a top tier character for them. And look what they turned that into.
I'm not sure I agree. Iron Man was an Avenger. In what way was he not an A tier?
Oh, you can look at
Oh yeah, based on comic sales at the time, like Iron Man was not the guy.
Yeah, and Peter was talking about the reboot. If we got a reboot of him, there was the Crossing, where they gave us the 18-year-old Tony Stark. No, I hope we don't get that kind of reboot, right? But when the Hollywood trades, right, whether it was the Hollywood Reporter or I forget what the other trade magazine is that has a big name, when they were talking about the first Iron Man coming out, they were talking about Marvel ushering out the D line or the C line, not the top tier characters. They were talking about how they had already been franchised out: Spider-Man, the X-Men, Fantastic Four.
Yeah, I think that's what you had to think about, right? Is all the stuff that got franchised away. That's what people wanted. That's the stuff that was selling: Spider-Man, X-Men, Hulk. That's the stuff that was working. And then Marvel was left over with Hawkeye and Scarlet Witch and whatever else was left over. So, and Iron Man was part of that sort of left
I would
behind
say, to me,
thing.
your A tier characters, let's see if we got a consensus, maybe we don't, but to me the A tier characters are Captain America, Iron Man, the Hulk, and I guess
Thor.
No, not the Hulk.
I might not have put Thor in there.
Are we looking at comic books though, or are we looking at movie sales?
Well, when you say this, when I say this, hold on a sec, Tom. What I mean is the public perception of these characters. Like to say he's a C character, you could put up almost any version of Iron Man, and people will recognize who that is, even non-comic fans. I'd say it was like that before too.
See, but to us, yes, but we were niche sales. We were not worldwide sales, right? They took a chance on that Iron Man flick. If it wasn't for Robert Downey Jr. and even Jeff Bridges coming aboard, those were names that they were able to trade upon, that they feel that they had a chance to get investors behind the movie.
No, right? Robert Downey Jr. was a huge risk. He was nobody at that time.
Yeah.
He was down in the dumps. He rescued that character, that franchise, and himself all at the same time.
Right.
All on his back, all on his ability to act.
Newly clean, he had a point to prove.
Yep. Yeah. Really cool. That's right.
Yeah, well said.
That's right. And we found out that also, whether we love to hear about it or not, that enclave, right? That Marvel community of writers that would go to the sets and give notes and stuff like that. If it wasn't for them, we never would have gotten that little button at the end of Iron Man with what's his name? Samuel Jackson. That was not something that was written into the script. That was a note from the team of Marvel writers, right? So if there's give and take, there's good and bad with everything. We got to take it. We got to take it. And the
they don't have that anymore. They don't have that check anymore.
They don't.
I still would have thought it could have been fun if David Hasselhoff was Nick Fury again, though, at the end of that.
No, brother. No.
Be careful what you wish for.
That is a hot take.
Multiverse right now.
I know.
That might happen.
That is true, because we got Reb Brown, right? Even before the multiverse, we got Reb Brown sitting next to Stan Lee in the first Captain America movie. And whoever thought of that ever happening, right? I mean, come on. Right? I know a lot of people. Thank you, Tim, for nodding. I appreciate that. A lot of people are like,
but I'm also a fan of the 80s TV where it's like, yeah, I would have been fine with a Hulk meets Thor storyline as well. You know,
right? Like with what was Rex Mason? What was the actor's name that he did?
The beginning of where. I love to share this. The beginning of where the Marvel universe started to go sideways, there were some indicators. And one of them was the way that they were handling Thor. Look, I get it that a little bit of humor sells Marvel movies. I love humorous movies too. I liked Guardians of the Galaxy for that reason. But then it was like they kind of pulled the gloves off and said, man, let's go right to 100 on the ridiculous scale. Like the Love and Thunder movie is almost kind of hard to sit through. Yeah. And if you're a Thor fan, you look, even Ragnarok, people say how much they love Ragnarok. It's best in small doses, but it's not as funny as it's trying to be. And many a times they just go off the tracks into ridiculous.
Well,
I
even
agree, Rob.
Hemsworth
I
said
agree.
about Love and Thunder that they did too much. They tried to make it too far. They totally lost course. And if that guy, that's like Mark Hamill telling you that Luke Skywalker isn't right. You probably should listen to what's going on if your actors are like, slow it down. But
I guess the flip side of this coin, and I don't want to take your question, Jay, but I wanted to make a quick reference to.
Go ahead, bro.
I think there's a strength to characters that are in standalone universes. And I think that, especially if you're a writer, you're best to promote it that way at the beginning and have it grow organically, which is something they did great in the Marvel universe, because the connective tissue tended to take the form of these little segues at the end, where the what they call now an end credit scene. But the ones that stand alone, I'm going to use the example of this new Superman trailer. I thought it looked great. And one of the things that I liked about it was the fact that when they asked him questions, he was like, no, it's not a setup for the Justice League. Now, there are some other characters in the trailer, but my sense is they don't have too prominent of a role. And I would think that would strengthen it. Like, I like the fact that it's in its own universe and maybe not trying to be more than that. My question would be, Jay, do you agree with that? Is a one-shot movie better?
If you want to make money, no. Right? The trilogy is what's going to bring the bucks in there, bro. Right? I mean, how many?
Yeah, but even that sort of is still standalone. It's a trilogy of things versus like the Marvel all-encompassing umbrella.
What do you mean by
thing.
that? What do you mean by that, Tom?
Well, like, for example, the Nolan movies are 3 Batman movies. That's it.
Yeah.
3 Batman movies. You get a story through 3 movies and you're done. It doesn't connect to Wonder Woman. It doesn't connect to Aquaman. It doesn't connect to anything else. It's just its own trilogy of things. But now we have like the Batman, right? The Matt Reeves, the Batman. That again is its own thing. There's going to be a second one coming, obviously, but that's its own thing. It doesn't connect to the new Superman. It doesn't connect to crypto, at least not at this point. It doesn't. So it's its own entity in its thing. But the weird part is, for me, is that I feel like, and this maybe is a plus and a minus thing, is that Marvel trained people to want the next thing. Yes. They were ending on cliffhangers. They were ending on end credit scenes and saying, guess what's next, guys? Go see Thor. Guess what's next, guys? Go see the Hulk. Guess what's next, guys? Go see this. And they trained the audience to want all of it. Right. And then when it all culminated with Endgame, they changed the rules. Hey, go see Black Widow. It has nothing to do with anything. Hey, go see Shang-Chi. It has nothing to do with anything. Go see the Eternals. It has nothing to do, or very little to do with anything. Here's all of our TV shows. They barely have anything to do with anything. So yes, they kind of mention and talk, but the original flow, everything was escalation to Infinity War. It all had a point. Whereas all this stuff is just this scattered weirdness. And so when you're done with it, there's nothing that tells you, now that you're done, go watch She-Hulk. Right? Like it doesn't work like that. So we have this weird thing where they're trying to do these sort of individual things in a way, but it's almost being rejected because it doesn't have the connectivity that those movies had through a decade of time.
Yeah. But to that point, I will say, the one thing that started out as fun and then kind of really became not fun was the let's make everyone in the universe together. So it's like, guys, did you know that the Smurfs exist in Captain America and they're totally canon? And it got too expansive to where it's like, do Avengers, fine, but don't throw in everybody else, and even in properties that never even came close. And my fear with some of the coming movies, and kind of going to Tim's point, is my fear is they're gonna pull some James Cameron Terminator shenanigans and be like, okay, through the multiverse or multi dimensions or time travel or whatever, none of that other shit happened, and here's everybody undead, and we can just forget that we had some bad movies.
See, but the other side, Pete, the other side of that coin is you got the Hellboy movies leading into the Academy Award-winning Shape of Water, right, with the Abe Sapien and the director spinning off that whole franchise. So, I mean, you got that bad side, and then you got that good side.
And it would have been great to have in that movie the RPD just crash the house and kill everyone.
Nobody bid on that one at all. Thanks. Okay, so I'll end that bad joke on that one. And I will ask the final question of the night. I can't believe we're getting to all 5 of them. with 18 minutes left in the evening. All right. So the final question of the night for comic books, folks, is will Marvel's Ultimate line and DC's Absolute line remain high on sales chart, or will it fizzle out before 2025?
Good question.
Good question. Who said good question?
Yeah, this is an easy question.
There
It'll
you
all
go.
fizzle out by the end of
No,
the year.
Tim said good question.
No, I'm going to take the pro on this one. I think those are the two of the higher quality titles in the market. There are a couple that I actually read when I have the time, and I think they've been consistently good. Maybe I'll get blasted for saying that. Whereas some of the regular ongoing titles, to me, haven't been as good. It's sort of like it reminded me of. I hesitate to say because then you know how old I am. But remember Prestige format books?
Yes.
They were square bound and had the high. Yeah.
This is the crew you can say yes to.
Yeah. So, but if you remember, that was a thing in the day, and that was, I want to say it was like a $4.95 comic, which is really pricey back then. But they came, it was like Black Orchid, and I think Books of Magic was that way, and they had very high production quality, very high writing quality. I think you'll agree with that. And my sense is that that's what they try to transplant into the less so the Ultimates and more so the DC line.
Absolutely. Okay.
Absolutely.
See, I agree with you, but that's also why it's going to fizzle. Because,
why do you say that? Tell us more.
Because we have history that tells us that they can't maintain good writing and good art through an extended period of time. Guys write 6 issues and are gone. Guys draw 5 issues and are gone, and it starts to shuffle. Once you start to get the shuffle away from that main sort of like original 6 to 12 issues that everybody's like, oh, this is like really good. Once you get out of that first sort of period of time, it starts to become someone else's book. And not to say that it can't still succeed in that regard, but history tells us that we start to see, well, I really loved this guy's run, but I didn't love this guy's run. And books start to kind of, peter out. Stuff like the Absolute line. I mean, we've been here before. They tried it with All-Star, and
you're not
very
wrong,
mixed,
Tom.
very mixed results in that regard.
Yeah.
They tried it with this year 1 stuff that they tried to do. The Absolute stuff, I think, is similar, more similar to me to that. I don't remember what they called it, but it was like Metal Knights or something.
No, you're right.
You guys remember
Metal
that
Knights.
thing?
Mm-hmm.
It was like, that was like this weird moment in time where like everything was just hyper aggressive and like, let's go do this crazy shit. And I'm like, yeah, do crazy shit. But now that stuff's in the dollar boxes, it's a passe thing. So I have a sense that Absolute will kind of follow the same role. It's going to be like this big, like, ooh, yeah, this is cool. Let's do this. And then it'll just kind of, slowly move itself away. And they'll figure out what they want to do next.
So I have a minor question then to Tom and Tim and JD for that, or everybody. Like, what would it take for the big dogs to correct that course and not have that happen again, or is that left to us indies?
Ooh.
As far as like maintaining creators,
creators and preserving that high tier storytelling in a very mass market level quality book, and not effing it up.
Let me chime in on this. It's hard for me to see that they're all in on the Absolute line when they're putting a premier team back on Batman for Hush round 2 again.
Yeah.
And they're putting a lot of marketing dollars behind that. So it's like, what's going to be your priority, right? You're splitting your basket.
They chase the shiny, and that's the problem.
That's it. Yeah. And I mean, the answer, well, unfortunately there's an answer and then there's a problem. The answer is we just keep paying these guys. Hey, Grant Morrison, we just need you on this book for the next 5 years. Here's money to do it. Mm-hmm. Right. But that doesn't mean Grant Morrison's gonna be like, yo, I don't got 5 years of Batman in me. Right. Maybe I can give you 2, and then you're gonna have to go get somebody else to do it. Right. So, in the days of Chris Claremont are long gone, where dude is writing for decades and he's spinning off everything. And, those are gone. I mean, I think the last time we had somebody artistically do any sort of significant run was like Catwoman with Jim Balent did most of his run. And that was 10 years ago, 20 years
Tom,
ago.
Is it done because you think the creators are incapable, or is it done because editorial is not behind it?
No, I'm just saying, I'm not saying either, really. I'm just saying, sometimes if you have, let's say you have a Batman story to tell, right? Mm-hmm. That Batman story maybe is 12 issues, and then your Batman story is finished. You've told your story. Now, that doesn't mean you couldn't figure out a way to continue it, but you're now in a different set of water now. Hey, I have this 12 issues of Batman. I can do this. Then you got to get somebody else to pick up the book and go. That's why a lot of this stuff is like 12 issues, 24 issues, and they stop because the creative team is like, we're done. We've done what we're supposed to do here.
Well, I mean, I got an alternative to that. I don't really think that's the case. I think in many cases, I think the teams would like to stay. I do feel that Marvel and DC has since Image. They don't want to create any superstars. On occasion, they do create them, right? But they don't want to give them the opportunity to do these really long runs, get established, like a Jeff Johns who's out there doing a Ghost Machine, right? Go out there. Scott Snyder had a chance to do his thing. I mean, he's back, at DC, but he's one of those guys that can also step off at any moment, right? And I think, I don't think they're interested in allowing these teams to like thrive on these titles for long periods of time.
But so like an engineered obsolescence where we've built in that we're going to crush you before you get too big.
I mean, what was the last Todd McFarlane or Rob Liefeld or Jim Lee that we've really seen, right? Like, there's some names out there that are good as they're great artists, right? Nick Dragotta, right? The guy who's doing the Batman book.
Sorry, Calderon, you mentioned this the other day in a phone call that we had with each other. And it's not only are they not allowing these people to develop and become superstars, they don't want to make that. The other companies, they see that. And if they got VC money behind them, they'll throw them $1,800 per page.
Yeah.
Come on over.
Yeah. That was
prematurely ending their run.
Rick Remender there was a great interview recently with Rick Remender I saw recently. And he was saying how these companies, these VC companies, they throw $800 to $1,500 page rates at these guys. So they leave Marvel and DC, they raise their page rates. So those guys who could have been creating good Marvel comics, good DC comics, not great, but good, are now making probably mediocre indie books because they're giving them their trunk pitches, right? The stuff that's been rejected before. They're like, well, I got this. That's all I got. And it was like, that's okay. We'll give $1,500, whatever. Netflix might pick it up because that's all they're interested in, right?
And by that time, somebody else has picked up their spot on the Prime book that they came off of.
Right. And the other problem with that is that Marvel and DC are not developing talent, right? There was a time when Howard Chaykin would give writing classes. I think it was at Marvel. And, they had other writers giving writing classes at these companies.
Denny O'Neil used to do it for DC.
Huh?
Denny O'Neil used to do it for DC.
Right. Denny O'Neil did it for DC. It's like, they would go to most of them were based here in Manhattan, were based here in New York City, right? So they would go to the film schools and they would pick up these guys and they were like, look, who wants to write? And they would bring them in, get a crop of guys. It was said they would teach them how to write comics. They would bring them, some guys would make it, some guys wouldn't, right? And but they're not doing stuff like that anymore. They're bringing in talent that who I feel is not really interested in comics. They're just like, oh, a check, thank you. For the most part.
Yeah. Guys, we filled the whole slot. I'm excited. We had a lot of comments. I want to thank everybody who's been following us on Facebook, Instagram, and on YouTube for Comic Book Streamland. This chat was lively. We even had trolls here tonight. That's fucking awesome.
Yeah, I got to reply to that guy who needed my social security number for some reason.
I'm going to try to catch him once we get off.
I would always say to that guy, you first.
So before we get out of here tonight, we're going to let everybody know where they can find you. Starting off with you, Calderon. Where can they find you, brother?
You can find me on Facebook, Twitter, and all these different places. Under JD Calderon. Primarily, you find Magi's Grace on Kickstarter running, and this Sunday we will not be holding a show. We'll be back next Sunday. Thank you.
There you go, Mr. Fling. Where can they find you, brother?
Well, I'm telling you, I am at all the usual places. I'm on Facebook and Instagram and that kind of thing. But really, the main thing for me right now is I'm doing YouTube. I'm at Timothy Fling, if you're looking for the handle. And also, I'm a Substack guy more and more. Same thing. I'm at Timothy Fling. So if you're looking to follow my projects, that'd be the best way. I am going to probably be coming to some crowdfunding. I got one coming up, but I'm going to save that announcement. And also, in just about, just about a half an hour, we're going to be talking about UFOs over on YouTube. So I hope you can come over and join us. Matter of fact, I'll show you it's this one. Can I put that up?
Yeah.
If one of you guys would like to come over and join me too, I got to cancel. So I'll say it to Jay first, but that's going to be an hour-long podcast. We're going to look at the Saucony UFO photograph, and we're going to try and determine if it's a hoax or not. Some of the authorities are telling you it's a malfunctioning weather balloon. That doesn't explain why the Italian Air Force was shooting at it. So we're going to take a closer look at that tonight, and I hope you guys can join us.
Nice.
Awesome.
So it's a half hour. Shoot on over. Put your link right there in the comments so they can find you, brother.
You got
All
it.
right.
You got it. Yep. Thanks for letting me show that. And Jay, thanks for inviting me on the show. This was fun. Man, I always love the opportunity to be on other people's shows like JD knows, because I can be a little more spicy, you know?
Spice it up. Spice it up, Tim.
You know what I'm saying? When you're on certain podcasts, you know, you can kind of be yourself. I feel like I can be myself with this group. But if you're the host, you got to be super diplomatic to the guests.
No.
Set everything on fire.
Pete, where can they find you, brother, before we get out of here?
Well, I normally would say, download Tor and find me on the dark web. But comicerpress.com, Comicer LLC on all the socials. And yeah, thanks for having me on again. It's fun and always a blast hanging with you gents.
All right.
Nice to meet you, Pete.
Yep,
Yeah,
nice
you as
to
well.
meet you.
Tom, where can they find you, brother?
Facebook, interwebs, BigDogInc.com, Kickstarter, all of the places. We are everywhere. We'll be doing our critter launch on January 18th. We just did a 24-hour Kickstarter on the 1st, which was a big success. So if you guys missed out on that, don't worry. We'll be back on the 18th with more.
Way to be. And for anybody looking for Tim's link, it's right there in the comments. Thank you all for hanging out with us on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Instagram. I appreciate the time you gave us. And this was a great way to start off the year. Catch us next week, Friday, 8 p.m., Comic Book Streamland. Good night, everybody.
Good night,
Good night.
everyone. Thank you.